The Orlando Magic have been one of the most disappointing teams in the entire NBA so far this season. Sitting at 28 and 25, seventh in the Eastern Conference in play-in territory, many expected them back in the preseason to be one of the top 3 to 4 teams in the East, especially after the acquisition of Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. But it's been more of the same Orlando Magic from the last couple years. Offensively, they're a little better than they have been in recent years, but defensively, they went from one of the elite, physical, nasty defenses in the league to mediocre, which, in my opinion, pretty much negates their slight offensive improvement and keeps them as the same level team that they have been. When you look at the positives of this season, there haven't been many, but the play of third-year guard Anthony Black is something to behold because he has taken a leap as a scorer for this team, averaging 16 points a game on decent efficiency, and he is taking some pressure off of that guard group where, a couple years ago or even last year, you could say there was an argument where the guards were like a legitimate problem and you needed one of them to show something. And Anthony Black, I'd say, was one of the guys that you were kind of like lower on. You were like, I don't know if he can be a scorer. You see the defensive potential, you see the physical attributes, but can he be a guy that's going to give you 15 to 16 points a game and be a reliable scoring option? We didn't know. And so far, he has shown that he can do that. He's taken that little leap. He's still 22 years old, and I think that's a positive for this team's long term future. Also, adding Desmond Bane doesn't hurt. He's been one of the bright spots on this team. He can shoot the basketball. He adds that boost to this team's scoring ability that they needed, that punch that they needed. But overall, I think the overall points of this team this season have been the injuries have held this team back a lot, especially with Franz Wagner, who you could say is probably their best player. He hasn't been healthy really that much this season, and that's kind of hurt them. But when it comes to the on the court play, the negatives on the court, Paolo Banchero might just be at the top of the list for this team. He has not taken the necessary leap to take this team to the next level, which would be title contention. And it sucks that he's really giving them this season, like in this present moment, because the Orlando Magic have enough talent where if he was playing at a higher level, this team could be looked at as a finals team. But he just hasn't been able to deliver. Obviously, the circumstances aren't perfect around him. The Magic are still one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league, despite adding Desmond Bane. But his game, Paolo's game, still reeks of inefficiency. The tough mid range jumpers, the lack of a consistent 3-point shot. It just makes him one of the more rough, high usage scorers when you compare him to other stars in the league. And overall, I mean, I think, like I mentioned, in the last couple years, a lot of people would look at their role players and say they need more from those guys. I think the argument can flip this season and say you need more from your top guys. I think the role players haven't been that bad for this Magic team, at least statistically. And their top guys have kind of just like plateaued, and this team just hasn't taken the leap to become a true threat against the top dogs in the East or just be flat out one of the top dogs in the East. They just haven't done it yet. If you look at this team and you see what they still need to continue to find more shooting because that's probably the best case scenario when it comes to maximizing the duo of Paolo and Franz, just giving them more space to drive to the basket and do what they do. But they also just need to hit jump shots, especially those two guys. They need to hit jump shots from the perimeter because right now it's like, it's nasty, their offense at times. It could get really ugly, even though they've improved a little. It still could get nasty, especially when you watch them play against a defensive type of team. It could get really ugly. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I don't really know what happened because I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched, all the Orlando Magic games so far this season, but that has to be their identity. The defensive side of the ball has to be their bread and butter if they want to contend because being slightly above average isn't going to cut it when you consider where their offense is at. They need to get back to being one of the top 3 to 5 defensive teams in the league. Where you played them, you saw them on a schedule, you knew your team ain't scoring more than like 110 points. It's going to be nasty, physical. They're going to slow the game down. They're going to muck it up. And they just don't do that. I don't know what's going on in that department. I don't know if they're not buying in all the way like they were previous years when they were like on the rise and things are different now. I don't know. I don't know if the Jamal Mosley, Paolo Banchero dynamic is really a true thing and they're not seeing eye to eye. I don't know what's going on with this team, but they're pretty much like a playing team. And that's disappointing. Like the Toronto Raptors are better than this team. And, you look at across the Eastern Conference and Detroit, look, Detroit, I knew Detroit was good, but I didn't think Detroit would be the best team in the East this season. And look at them. They've taken that leap, a respectable leap to being the best team in the Eastern Conference. Orlando was supposed to be that group. They were supposed to be the group you looked at as like the best team in the East, potentially the top two, top three team in the East. And they're just stuck where they have been for the past few years, which is like, yeah, they're good, but are they good enough? And I think it's fair to say, look, yeah, the Magic got a young core on this roster, and they got some guys. And if things click, they could make a run. Even this season, if things click, they could make a run in this year's playoffs. But I think it's fair to have some discussions about whether or not some of these guys on this roster are capable of being winning players in their current roles. Is Paolo a franchise guy? Is Franz really a franchise guy? Are these guys really twos and threes? Are their role players good enough? I think they are, but who knows, right? Like, is the coach the right coach for this team? These are all reasonable questions because so far the Orlando Magic have stayed the same while the rest of the East has gotten better. And they need to figure it out because if they can't figure it out, there's going to be more teams coming into the fold next season. Where, yeah, Boston's good right now, but Boston will have Tatum back. 100% guaranteed next season he'll be back. And then you got the Indiana Pacers, and the Knicks will still be around, and Cleveland will probably still be around, and Detroit will be better, and who knows? So the Magic need to figure it out soon because right now you cannot continue, especially going into next season, even though we're in the middle of this season. But if they go and they flame out this year and they lose in the first round or they lose in the play-in, and you want to run it back with the same roster, I don't know if you can look at it and be like, oh, we'll run it back and development is just going to happen and this team's going to take that leap naturally. I don't think so. I think there's some flaws with certain guys on this team that it might just be what it is right now. And maybe I'll be proven wrong, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. I think the Magic have been easily one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA. And they still got some time to maybe they just put things together and things click. And like I said, they make a second round playoff run or Eastern Conference Finals Magic playoff run. I don't know. But right now, this team smells like a first round exit, or they lose the first game in the play in and then they win the second one and they're the 8th seed or whatever. Like, that's what it smells like right now to me. And that's not good enough, especially coming into a season where you added a key piece in Bane and you were expected to be one of the top 3 to 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been the checkup, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.